Hey everyone, Steven here, and welcome to my little library of horrors. So today I'm going to be reviewing a book I just finished a couple days ago, and that book is called Friend by Diana Henstell. So the best way I could probably describe Friend in a couple of words would be as if Stephen King decided to take a crack at writing Frankenstein. It's got a lot of wonderful characters, very intense scenes. It's got that really nice small town feel to it where, the main character, Paul Conway, aka Piggy, and his mom, Jeannie, move from Boston to Welling, Pennsylvania after Paul's parents' divorce. And, it was just a really awesome story overall. Like I said, Piggy ends up moving to Welling, Pennsylvania. He doesn't fit in very well because he's used to being among, like, the most scientific minds in the world, being in Boston, close to where I used to live, and now is going to somewhere that doesn't, have that kind of mind power, I guess. So what happens is he ends up befriending another kid in school. His name is Timmy Toomey, aka Slime, and he happens to be the son of the town's undertaker. So he himself is kind of an outcast as well. So, they end up meshing really well together. I really like their friendship and the dynamic they have between the two. Both being sort of outcasts within the school. And then, eventually Piggy meets the girl across the street, Sam Pringle, and ends up developing, his first crush on her, and, seeing him struggle with these feelings he's never had before, especially someone who's so heavy set on scientific thinking. It was really interesting to see him kind of struggle, try to make his feelings expressed in a scientific or mathematical way, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, it was really interesting. The three end up becoming really fast friends. And one character I completely forgot to mention was BeeBee, Paul's robot that he built. BeeBee's sort of like your Wall-E-esque character, where he follows Piggy around, as communicates through bleeps and bloops, and almost has essentially his own personality in a way. He's almost kind of sentient. He's kind of aware of when danger's about to happen in a situation, and is, like I said, is pretty aware for a robot. So anyway, Halloween night comes, and, when Piggy and Slime are walking back to the house, Sam's dad, Harry Pringle, he is a raging alcoholic, ends up, seeing Piggy and Slime walking home, and sees the robot BeeBee, which is kind of like a sense of discourse throughout the town. Like, BeeBee makes people really uncomfortable because they're not used to seeing something like that, when in all reality, BeeBee's harmless. He's like essentially shin high and can't really do much without Paul's say-so. So he ends up seeing them walking home, and in a drunken rage kind of smashes BeeBee to bits and kills him. And, the police investigate it, and there's this old woman across the street, Elvira Williams, who ends up vouching for Harry just because she's like a really nasty person. And so, Harry claims self-defense and blah, blah, blah. And then, as Piggy and Sam's relationships start to kind of get stronger, you start to notice that Sam's being abused at home. She comes over with bruises, has to be home by a certain time, specifically before her dad gets home. She knows how to do, like, adult chores like cooking and laundry and things for, her age. And so, Piggy starts to see the signs and things like that. And then, unfortunately, a few days after Halloween, Harry ends up killing Sam in a drunken rage. And that's sort of the catalyst of Piggy getting the idea of bringing Sam back to life via inserting BeeBee's microchip into her brain. So he essentially convinces Slime to help him abduct the body from Slime's parents' funeral home, and Paul conducts the experiment and things like that. And Sam comes back to life and is walking around, and everything starts to. That's when Paul's arc starts to go, where we start to see where he's this bright genius, knows everything, knows what to say, when to say it, and all that. And then he starts to crumble now with the mix of grief and guilt that he feels. Wanting Sam alive, because he loves her, but at the same time realizing, he's clearly crossed a line that wasn't meant to be crossed. So, it's really interesting throughout the book to see that, because it really, like I said, develops Paul's character a lot, from him being this kind of innocent child, he knows he's smarter than everybody else. He knows he's not an average kid, but still has child tendencies to where, okay, I need my mother for comfort. And again, even just the simple thought of being able to bring someone back from the dead, I think is seems more realistic as a child as it does an adult. So of course he's going to go ahead and, try the experiment that way. But, anyway, so yeah, things start to go awry as Sam starts to, kind of go on a rampage, and, she sees her father, she kills her father, and then more bodies start to pile up as Sam is, like I said, starting to go on sort of this revenge plot. And Paul's, struggling to keep her, still and hiding the bodies and everything like that. And, everything eventually comes to a boil at the end. And it was overall a really good story. I think one of the best things that Diana does with her writing is, which is why I compare her to King, is that she does really well expressing emotions through her characters rather than, telling you how this character feels. She's expressing. So for one example, there's one part where Sam ends up in the back of the science teacher's car. Which one was the science teacher? I'm just going to take a look at my notes. Henry Johansson. He's the science teacher of the school. Him and Piggy are often butting heads. Piggy's telling him, like, especially when it comes to the whole death thing, they tend to strongly disagree. So, there's one scene where Sam ends up in the back of Henry Johansson's car and terrifies him. And then a couple days later, we see Henry at the church with Father Duffy. And just the way Diana, describes how Henry is looking, how he's been acting the past couple days, it really adds this level of realism to the character rather than just saying, Henry spent the last couple days in his house doing da-da-da-da. No, it's, the man had this pale expression and he was murmuring to himself and in all these wonderful details. Like, her prose is very good. Very, very, very easy to take in. But, doesn't lose that sense of... I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's just it's really smooth. It's a very smooth prose, and I really enjoy it. Another thing she does wonderful is keeping this sense of dread throughout the entire story. There's this side plot of this accident that happened in Piggy's school, which was kind of, I don't want to say the reason why his parents divorced, but that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, where this student died, and in an accident that Piggy caused. And throughout the story, it's almost like the ghost of that student is kind of haunting his family. Not just Paul, his mom, and, the guy's name is Bertram Leonard. And so it adds like this really nice, like almost physical manifestation of Piggy's guilt that's sort of kind of spreading to everyone else, which is like another great way that Diana shows how powerful grief is. Like, it's not just Piggy that's affected by this. It's his grief is so strong. Jeannie's starting to lose weight because she's worried about her son and how he's been acting lately because, he's trying to hide Sam's body and things like that. And then Slime is, was this really outgoing kid and, had a witty attitude and things like that, is now basically like a shell, like a ghost walking around. He's nervous. He won't talk to people and things like that. And, it like I said, it's almost like this, like these tendrils that spread out through the town that just, his one action kind of, cause this domino effect throughout the whole town. And it makes me, like, it's wrapped up in one line in the book that I think sums it up perfectly. And it's Piggy even says it. He says, sometimes, I think people become dangerous by accident. And I think that's such a powerful line. Like, I think like that essentially sums up the whole essence of Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein, someone deciding to play God and becoming dangerous by accident, I just, that was a line that really hit me like really hard. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the story's just fantastic overall. Really well written, wonderfully paced. One thing I personally would have liked to see is there's one character that gets introduced. It is like he's introduced as almost kind of like this slimy like principal character that's trying to hit on Paul's mom and things like that. And he shows up in one scene and then we never see him again. And I think what would have really been awesome is to have him have a scene with Sam to kind of like further muddy the perception. Is Sam evil or is Sam, acting out revenge? Because it's her brain with BeeBee's sort of conscience almost, I think it would have been a good representation of a power struggle, like, because every character Sam ends up killing in the book has some kind of negative connotation between both BeeBee and her. So, there's a reason the way she's acting the way she does. Whereas with this character, was more sort of sinister towards Piggy's life, and he never told her this. I think having those two interact and seeing how Sam, would react towards this person, I think really would have added a nice level of complication to the story. Like, is BeeBee's chip more in control or is Sam conscience more in control? Is Sam evil or is she acting purely on the memory she had before she died? I think that would have been really, really interesting to see in the story. But yeah, overall, I really, really think, this has got to be one of my favorite stories now. The ending absolutely had me bawling. It was just good. It's definitely one of those books that leaves you with a book hangover. And, yeah, overall rating, I would give it, honestly, a solid 4 out of 5. Again, wonderfully paced, excellently told, great characters and development, intense scenes that, focus both on expressing the terror through character emotion and actual, violent scenes. Like there's a drowning scene in here that's really like intense, like had me like short of breath, and like just the way it ended was just like so it was like it was great. It was great. So yeah, if you've always wanted to read Frankenstein, but the way it's written, the Old English, the really, really long passages of monologue and things like that kind of throw you off, absolutely check out Friend by Diana Henstell. Similar story, more entertaining, I think, honestly, especially when, you're involving children now. So, yeah, absolutely pick up a copy if you can find it. It's usually fairly cheap. But, yeah, that's going to be it for me today, everybody. So, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Feel free to leave me a comment letting me know your favorite Frankenstein-style books. I'd love to check out more. Leave a like and subscribe for more reviews. See you later, everybody.